Rune has been out for a little over a week now, and I've had my time to thoroughly play it, test it out, and try as many aspects of the game as I possibly could to formulate my opinion, and that is exactly what this video is going to be about. I am going to be reviewing this game, and let me preface this by saying a few things. Number one, I like this game. I really like this game. Rune has been some of the most fun I've had on Roblox in a very long time. There's just an inexplicable feeling of the sheer excitement and bliss of exploring the map for the first time, fighting all the enemies, grinding with your friends, finally getting something half decent after hours of farming. I absolutely love this game. That does not mean that it's perfect, far from it. That's exactly what we're going to be discussing in this video. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. In the spirit of keeping things somewhat positive, we are going to start it off with the good. For starters, this game's progression is, in my opinion, done beautifully. Whereas most slop Roblox games require you to do a mission over and over again to fight some slightly higher level NPCs with more health, this game takes you on a journey. From the starter village, where you get your bearings after losing your fight to the dragon, or cheesing him if you know what you're doing, to making your way to Ashenshire after you accept the quest from the guy at the stables, and finally going to Lakeshire to max out your slot. The progression feels natural, and it really does immerse you in the world of the game because you feel like your character is getting stronger along with you. Your journey doesn't just happen in a linear fashion, because besides doing the quests and the jobs are the main way that you're going to be leveling up, there's so many other things that you can do. And that's exactly why I love the game so much and why I had so much fun with it. It doesn't force the player into going into a singular path towards progression. Sure, if you want to do it quickly, you're just going to bang out the quests and bang out the jobs as soon as possible, but there's so many other things that you can do, like taming your first pet, gathering the materials for an armor piece, gathering materials for a weapon, doing some of the random NPC quests around the map that give you special rewards. All of these things, although technically, yeah, they do give you XP, they are part of the quest, they don't feel like a chore because they're naturally integrated into the game, and for me, that's a huge plus. The next thing that I really like about this game is the fact that there's so much build variety within the classes that you can choose. Sure, as it currently stands, you're probably not going to be doing too much multi-class things, because if I'm being 100% honest, it's better to just fully spec into your chosen class. What I'm trying to say is, most people are just going to choose something like Warrior, go 40 Warrior, pick their subclass, usually Berserker since that's incredibly brain dead right now, and call it a day. There doesn't seem to be a huge incentive for going multi-class, and every single YouTube video that I've seen advertising the new insane meta multi-class, sure, it's creative, sure, it's cool, but I could just go 40 into Beast Tamer, let my adult spider tank all the damage, and then mash buttons to get the exact same results as you with minimal effort. And that's something that I'll touch on later, but what I'm trying to say is I really enjoy the amount of options that we have. You have the Priest, the Warrior, the Archer, the Thief, the Striker, and each of these has their own little subclasses that make them even stronger. I absolutely love that. That's the reason that I have so many slots. In fact, currently I have about 3 level 40 slots, and I have a couple other slots that I'm progressing because I enjoy the game that much. I want to be able to experience all the different types of classes that the game has to offer because the core gameplay systems are just that enjoyable. To summarize, for me, the best parts of this game lie within its progression and within its variety in that progression, because not only do the progression systems for this game feel natural and woven into the world, but you also have so many choices as to what you can do. Do you want to be support, DPS? Do you want to be a tank? Do you want to be something in between? Do you want to be an assassin? It really feels like this game caters to all types of players, and that's why I love it so much. Now, I think that's about it in terms of the good. I did try to include as much as I could possibly think of, just so people don't think I'm making this video to mindlessly shit on the game. I really do enjoy this game. Now, if the bad section happens to be a little longer than the good, sue me. And now, we get into the bad. This game has a lot of potential, is how I want to start this off, because a lot of the issues that I'm going to list are not unfixable. These can be remedied, albeit maybe not easily, maybe not at the snap of a finger, but they're definitely issues that the developers can tackle and improve upon, right? It's not like the game is beyond saving, and I really would like to see this game have some longevity just because I really enjoy it. And it's really few and far between that you find Roblox games like this that don't feel like a slog to play and also have the elements of, for lack of a better term, a Souls-like game. First things first, this game's servers are dog shit. Why am I playing in my own region and still averaging 200 ping when I have a LAN cable connection? I know I am not the problem. I am more than sure my internet is not the issue here because it works just fine for literally any other game. God forbid I load into Rune, all of a sudden my ping is quadrupled, and that really bothers you in a game where you sort of need to parry in order to avoid damage, and in order to win fights more consistently, it would be very nice if I could use my F key, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be the case. And that's the exact same scenario that a lot of players find themselves in. I look at videos of Runeslayer gameplay of people like beating bosses or doing PvP. You know what the most common criticism is in almost every single one of those videos? And I'll say this line verbatim: not a parry in sight. And you know why? It's not because people don't have brains or don't know where their F key is or don't want to bother. No, it's because this game actively rewards you for just being an ape and mashing buttons. That is the most effective style of combat, so why would you bother going the path of more resistance? Why bother learning to parry, learning the enemy attacks, learning the different animations, windups, and sound cues in order to parry when parrying is damn near impossible with the average ping that you get? And even when you do land a parry, the reward that you get is minuscule, right? The juice is not worth the squeeze because there's no parry stun. I'll parry someone in PvP, and what'll they do? They'll just go right back to M1ing. I don't even get a chance to do anything back depending on what weapon they're using. Or let's say I parry a monster. A lot of people are going to tell me, well actually, the reward is that you don't take damage. Yeah, well, you know what? It'd be nice if I could get the reward of also being able to do damage, right? Isn't that the point of parrying? To parry your opponent's attack so you have a chance to counterattack? Yeah, that shit is not the case 80% of the time because all of the bosses either have hyper armor moves, attack extremely quickly, or just have no stun whenever you parry them. Sure, you get to avoid the damage, and for what? So they can smack me right after? Yeah, no thanks. My second issue is in how seemingly overtuned the endgame enemies are. If you are a solo player and you receive the quest slay an imp or slay a fiend, yeah, good luck. You are gonna go into that hell area, try to fight them, and get your butthole absolutely gaped open because guess what? The imps are gonna be dealing over 100 damage per M1. They have octuple your health, and it requires multiple guard breaks to kill them as a solo player. So unless you have some incredibly cheese build like a warlock or a berserker, good luck beating that on your own. This is one of those games that requires you to have friends to have fun. I promise you, you will not have fun as a solo player progressing anywhere after level 15. Because once you get to the point where you're fighting enemies that actually have some health, like panthers, like serpents, like crocodiles, like crabs, like beastmen, like imps, do you know what's going to happen? You are going to get demolished. And it's not because you are necessarily a bad player. Maybe even you learned their attack patterns so you could parry them. But guess what? None of that matters when they can deal half your health in 2 moves, and all of the time that you spent trying to whittle their health down amounts to absolutely nothing. The endgame enemies in this game, in my opinion, right? This is just an opinion, are way too hard for the sake of being hard. In fact, issue number 1 sort of makes issue number 2 even worse, because if this game had consistent parrying, an actual stun when you landed a parry, giving you a chance to counterattack, maybe it wouldn't be that hard to progress as a solo player, because you wouldn't have to rely on multiple teammates to wail on an enemy in order to complete things effectively. Because then, if you can parry efficiently and you can parry consistently, you're rewarding the players who take the time out of their day to learn the enemy attack patterns. That is not the case. If you are a solo player, God forbid you are a priest solo player or something like thief or striker that doesn't really get insanely good until later on, you, my friend, are fucked. If you don't have friends, you better make some, because you are not going to have fun if you don't. Another issue that I think really plagues this game is the amount of exploiters that are just completely ruining the game for everybody. And I know that this issue is kind of like saying, oh, the sky is blue, grass is green. Yeah, exploiters ruin Roblox games, but the issue becomes even more noticeable in games like this, where the economy hinges on players trading extremely hard to get RNG items for other RNG items. But guess what? When you exploit, you circumvent that entire process and just monopolize everything. There's a screenshot, if I find it, I'll put it in the video, of this exploiter with over 60 golden fairies. Most people won't even get a single one in multiple playthroughs, yet this guy just casually has over 60 of the most valuable item in the game. Yeah, I think you can imagine how exploiters just completely gut trading as a whole. On the topic of trading, in this game, if you're going to be trading, it's going to be for endgame items, right? Legendary weapons, legendary runes, maybe in some niche cases, specific things that you need for armor pieces, like the Elder Treant armor, which is currently the best armor in the game, or the Mother Spider armor. Maybe you'll need a spider gem. But most of the time, you're trying to get things like a legendary weapon, a golden fairy, a lucky ring, some gold ore, yada yada. Here's the thing, right? This game's quote-unquote end game is literally just farming bosses for a 0.005% drop, or whatever the drop rate is. We don't even know what the drop rate is. But this game's endgame, once you reach level 40, you have one of two things to do. You can go around fighting people, but what's the point? There's no incentive, there's no reward. Okay, you can get max faction rep with your faction. And then what? To unlock a couple of extra items that you're going to go need to farm bosses for to get currency? Well, you don't necessarily need to farm bosses, but you do need to farm gold. What I'm trying to say is, as it stands, not much of an incentive to PvP unless you're doing it just for the love of the game. But why would I do that when I could just get more rewards from mindlessly farming a boss? It really is just a personal preference thing. What I'm trying to say is, there's really no point in PvPing right now. So, what's option number 2? Well, you can go boss farming. You can farm. There's a plethora of bosses in this game, right? A hill troll is technically, and in my eyes, the hill troll is a boss. You have the rune golem, you have the basilisk, you have the mother spider, you have the goblin champion, you have the rat king. All of these bosses do have some drops that are useful for an endgame player. So what do you want to do once you're already level 40 and there's no more quests to do? Well, you are going to bash your head into the wall, farming the same boss over and over and over and over again until you finally get that one drop that you were looking for. But guess what? In theory, this sounds good for the developers, right? More player retention, more people on your game. People are going to be spending longer trying to get the things that they want. In practice, this makes the game feel like an absolute slog. Because once I'm level 40, I don't even have the motivation to keep playing on that slot anymore. Because what's the point? Yeah, I can farm, and I do that. You know, I've had some farming sessions with my friends where we'll just sit in a call and farm whatever legendary weapon we want for a couple hours. And yeah, I have gotten some, but it just doesn't entice me. I don't want to sit here and farm the same boss or farm the same NPC over and over and over again for hours on end, because that's the only avenue that I have to getting mid-max gear, to getting legendary weapons, to getting anything remotely useful after you're level 40. I heavily dislike that. This game's entire end game, and I say end game in air quotes because it really is just glorified boss farming. This game's end game heavily relies on RNG, and that's very unfortunate because, like I said, this game has some incredible potential. Instead of making the golden fairy an astronomically low drop from the Elder Treant, because let's be honest, with how many exploiters are in the game right now, you are not going to find a golden fairy legitimately, because the second that one spawns in your server, there is someone with a TP script that instantly goes to it and grabs the golden fairy. So most players opt into farming the Elder Treant to get their golden fairy. Guess what? Having to do that over and over again is not fun. Instead of making the golden fairy locked behind an RNG drop rate from a boss, why not implement a unique quest in order to get it? That's another thing that I don't like about this game. The two things that can curb the RNG, Lucky Ring and the Golden Fairy, are locked behind more RNG. To get a Lucky Ring, you have to get 2 gold ore. And I don't know what the drop rate is for that. I don't think anyone does, but it is extremely rare to get gold ore when you're mining platinum or mithril. So yeah, have fun with that. You know, go waste days of your life trying to get that Lucky Ring. Or you can go for the Golden Fairy. And how do you get that? Oh, you just have to farm a boss that has an incredibly low drop rate. Great. So the two things that I could have done to make my grind a little bit easier are locked behind an even harder grind. Amazing. What I'm trying to say is, I really would like to see things like the Lucky Ring or the Golden Fairy have unique quest lines tied to them that you can do on your slot in order to get them. A very good example of this is when you're in the starter village. If you talk to that one guy sitting at a table by himself inside of the Adventurers Guild, he'll give you a quest to go, I believe it's slay some monsters, like kill some wolves, bears, and boars. If you do that and you come back to him, he'll reward you with a weapon. Sure, it's not the best weapon in the world, but when you're just starting, it is probably the best weapon that you have access to. Why couldn't we have something like that for Golden Fairies or Lucky Rings? I don't want it to be easy. By all means, make it hard. If the game is incredibly hand-holdy and hands everything to you, then what's the point of playing? But why couldn't there be a quest like, oh, kill this super-duper hard boss and, you know, give him this to unlock a secret phase. And if you beat that, then you can get rewarded with your Golden Fairy. Or, oh, you want the Lucky Ring? Travel to this highest tippity top of the mountain, parry the lightning strikes, fight the lightning boss, and choose a secret dialogue option to let him give you the Golden Ring. Something like that. You know, I'm just spitballing here, but what I'm trying to say is it would have been really, really nice to see these borderline required items, because let's be honest, if you're going to be farming and you don't have a Golden Fairy, you just feel like an idiot because the Golden Fairy just makes it that much better, 10 times better. You get like, what, 4x luck, and then the Lucky Ring is 1x luck. It's things that everybody wants, right? I would have loved to see these drops that feel basically required for hardcore players of the game be given to you for actually playing the game to an interesting extent, not for just sitting there and farming the same thing for hours on end, because that's just so boring and mind-numbing. I think we're done here. In order to conclude things, this game is one of my favorite games on Roblox that I've played in a very, very long time, and I would hate to see it die due to issues that plague the game, which could be fixed. These issues can definitely be fixed. This game has such incredible potential, and I really do want to see it stay for the long run. Some of the things that I named bothered me a lot. Probably could tell. But that doesn't mean that it ruins the game for me. Despite its shortcomings, I still really, really love this game. Also, a lot of people seem to draw parallelisms from this game and Deepwoken, and I really don't understand why. People see a game that has parrying and a game that doesn't hold your hand and just immediately assume that it's a deep copy. You know, this game is not Deepwoken. It is extremely different, and for a good reason. This game would not survive if it had the same mechanics and principles as Deepwoken. For example, if permadeath was in this game, no one would play it. It would be fucking horrendous. It's been a while since I whipped out the old webcam, and although I wish I had a good reason as to why, I don't. I'm just lazy and didn't want to have to plug in the entire webcam every time I started recording. But I digress. I wanted to include it for this video to thank you. If you made it till the end of the video, thank you for watching this. I know it's different from my usual batch of content, but I really, really do like this game. I've had a lot of fun with it, and whether this video does good or not, I don't really care. I just wanted to do it for the love of the game, but did want to include the face cam for this one. Excuse the hair. Wasn't really planning on recording myself, but I was like, fuck it, I'll include it. At the end, I'll include the segment at the end of the video. With all that being said, that is going to be it from me. If you made it till the end, big, big thank you for watching. Have a great day or night wherever you are. Stay tuned for more content, and we will catch you in the next one.